April 5th, 1923. Inside Cairo's Continental Savoy Hotel, a wealthy British aristocrat named Lord Carnarvon is burning up with a severe fever. At exactly 1:55 a.m., he takes his final breath. At that precise second, the entire city of Cairo loses power. The streets are thrown into total darkness. Thousands of miles away in England, Carnarvon's beloved pet dog, Susie, suddenly begins to howl. Moments later, she collapses and dies. The trigger for this chain of events had been pulled 6 months earlier. After 15 years of exhaustive searching and massive funding from Lord Carnarvon, British archaeologist Howard Carter finally struck the entrance of a forgotten tomb. Carter had uncovered the resting place of King Tutankhamun. Inside lay nearly 5,000 pristine objects left exactly as they were 3 millennia ago, including a 10-kilo solid gold death mask and a dagger forged from a meteorite. It stands as the greatest archaeological discovery in human history, yet within weeks, the triumph mutated into a global nightmare. Newspapers reported that Carter's team found a clay tablet near the tomb's entrance. It carried a direct warning: "Death shall come on swift wings to whoever disturbs the peace of the Pharaoh." The prophecy appeared to fulfill itself immediately. A cobra, the ancient symbol of Egyptian royalty, slithered into Carter's birdcage and ate his pet canary. Over the next 6 years, 22 people connected to the excavation died violently or mysteriously. A radiologist dropped dead suddenly. The 78-year-old father of Carter's secretary jumped from a 7th-story window. In 1926, Dr. Douglas Derry unwrapped the 3,000-year-old mummy to perform an autopsy. On the pharaoh's cheek, he found a distinct circular lesion. It was in the exact same spot where Lord Carnarvon had received the fatal bug bite that caused his fever. The public panicked. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the highly logical creator of Sherlock Holmes, publicly announced his belief that an evil elemental spirit was responsible for the carnage. The timing of the blackouts, the matching physical wounds, and the mounting body count created an airtight case for the supernatural. You only see the cracks when you examine the raw data. Every piece of evidence holding the curse together can be dismantled, with basic historical context and elementary math. Look at this picture of Cairo's street infrastructure in the 1920s. The city's electrical grid was notoriously unstable. Widespread power outages happened constantly. Carnarvon dying during a blackout is the equivalent of dying on a day when it rains in London. The simultaneous death of his dog falls apart when you check the time zones. Susie died at 4 a.m. in England. Carnarvon died at 1:55 a.m. in Cairo, which is midnight in the UK. There is a 4-hour gap between the two events. Even the bug bite itself has a grounded explanation. Lord Carnarvon traveled to Egypt specifically because he suffered from chronic, severe health issues and desperately needed the dry climate. Back in 1923, penicillin did not exist. For a man with a compromised immune system in the desert heat, an infected mosquito bite is a lethal medical event.
Human beings are wired to seek patterns. When faced with a string of completely natural tragedies, we stitch them together to form a monster in the dark. The physical evidence of the curse is entirely fabricated. That ancient clay warning tablet never existed. Decades later, the tomb's security guard, Richard Adamson, admitted the truth. A journalist had aggressively questioned him about potential curses on the excavation site. Adamson didn't deny it, he just smiled. The reporter took that single smirk and printed a detailed story about a cursed clay tablet. The matching mark on the mummy's cheek was invented by the Morning Post. The Times of London held the exclusive rights to all real discoveries from the tomb, so competing papers simply made things up to drive sales. Apply a basic stress test to the logic of the curse. If a magical trap activates when the tomb is breached, the first people to die should be the ones who actually breached it. Dr. Derry, the man who physically cut open the mummy, lived to be 87. Lady Evelyn, one of the first humans to enter the tomb, lived to 78. Howard Carter himself lived for another 16 years. When reporters hounded him about the curse, his standard reply was simply, "I am still alive." An analysis of the 44 Westerners present during the excavation showed their average age of death was 73,
slightly higher than the life expectancy of the era. The Pharaoh's curse was engineered entirely by 20th century journalists competing for headlines. The fictional monster the media created completely obscures the biological reality of the human being buried in the sand. Tutankhamun was a sickly teenager. Decades of royal Egyptian inbreeding left him with a severely compromised body. Modern analysis of his remains shows he suffered from malaria, a highly painful bone disorder, and a debilitating clubfoot. He could barely walk unassisted, which is exactly why his tomb contained 130 walking sticks. He took the throne around the age of 9 during a period of massive religious chaos caused by his father. By the time he died at 18 or 19, he had accomplished very little. The pharaohs who ruled after him considered him so entirely irrelevant that they systematically scrubbed his name from the historical monuments. For 3,000 years, the world completely forgot that he even existed. And that is exactly why the grave robbers never found him. His tomb wasn't protected by magic or grand design. It was protected by his utter political insignificance. The ancient Egyptians held a very specific theological belief. A person only truly dies when their name is spoken aloud for the last time. In 1922, a hyper-competitive press corps needed a scary story to sell newspapers. They built a lie out of coincidence, confirmation bias, and a security guard's smirk. By doing so, they accidentally gave this forgotten teenager exactly what his religion promised. Today, King Tutankhamun is history's most famous pharaoh. His iconic face is recognized by millions, ensuring his name is never lost to the sand again. The mummy's curse never took a single life. It was the engine that gave a young boy eternal life.